I think it could in the short term. If we look at the latest figures, we saw 2.5% odd rate of growth over the month in September in Melbourne compared to 0.1% in Sydney. The rate of growth in Melbourne on an annual basis is now at its fastest pace since 2010. So there's signs of a pickup there. At the same time, if we look at what's happening in Sydney, it looks like the rate of growth in that market is starting to moderate. It's still growing, but at a slower pace. We've got more stock available for sale on the market. People have a lot more choice out there in the market than they've had for some time. And whilst we're still seeing a bit of an increase in new stock in Melbourne, it's nowhere near the same magnitude as what we're seeing in Sydney. The impact somewhat's been a little bit overstated. I mean, you look at housing credit growth for investors, it got up to, I think, about 11.1% on an annual basis. It's now come down to 10.7%. What we're seeing is a lot of the banks are now targeting the owner-occupier segment, lifting their lending to owner-occupiers. I think the smart part of that is if they can start growing that book faster, it means that the impact of having to tighten that investor credit is lessened. So overall, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact, but certainly it might make some new developments a little bit harder to get out of the ground because pre-sales will be a little bit harder. We know that investors are paying a little bit higher interest rates from most banks now as well. So it does have an impact, and it's most likely, I think, to impact on brand new projects in Sydney and Melbourne, and to a lesser degree Brisbane. But good quality projects will still get enough demand there. And I think it's possibly a little bit good, the crackdown, because it means that those marginal people coming into the investment space that possibly shouldn't be in a position to invest in property in the first place are now not going to be able to do so. And that's, from a financial stability point of view, that's a good thing.